Welcome to Leicester Fan TV. Today we're talking about the latest rumours and transfers, starting off with West Brom and Choudhury going there and Soumare, potentially going out on loan this season. Okay, so to start with, we're going to talk about the latest rumour, which has been speculated quite a lot recently, is Choudhury going to West Brom on loan. He's been in the club since his academy. He's not really broke into the squad this season. We've had the likes of Mendy coming in, who's been Ndidi's replacement, a bit of Soumare, but Choudhury's definitely not been, in and around that first team, let alone the bench, really. What do you think, Reedy, to him going on loan this season?
Well, we started off well when he came into that centre-back role to cover in, like, when we had Fafana out, we had Evans out a lot of the time. So when he played against, like, the Liverpool side when we won at home, he did well. But again, since everyone's been back fit, he's barely had a chance, has he? So really, you've got to maybe just give him that chance on loan. It's like Luke Thomas. People have been saying put him on loan. Maybe it would help him. So maybe it would be good for Choudhury to go out on loan. Someone like West Brom, he did well for Barnes that first season when he came back. Obviously, he's not done the best this season, but someone like Choudhury going somewhere like that, hopefully bring them up next season. As in West Brom, really probably doing good and maybe help them get in that first team start next season on after that.
It's obviously going to be hard for him to get out of this Leicester mojo when he's probably on 30-40 grand a week. So, he's on a good amount at Leicester. So, he's obviously, if he does go, he'll be on a loan. I can't see many people wanting to pay. He's not going to want to leave his childhood club on, the wages that he's on at the moment. He's probably on a good amount at Leicester. So, who's really going to pick him up if he goes on loan? He's in that position now where he wants to play regular football. So, he's either going to have to suck it up and take a page cut or go out on loan to, the Championship clubs. West Brom's, he probably feels like he's better than Championship though. He has played in and around the Premier League. He's played in Europa League, Europa Conference League last season. He made some appearances. He's definitely gonna feel, why can't he go to a better club than Championship level? So I think it's a tough one for him to take. But was he 23, 24? Rod, he's at the point in his career where if he doesn't start playing now, he's just going to be a bench player. And he's probably happy with the wages he's on, but he's definitely going to want first team football, and I think he deserves it. I don't think he's good enough for our first team at the quality we're playing at. I think Mendy is definitely stepping up to the job when Ndidi's out, but when Ndidi's fit, he's a world class defensive midfielder. So it's hard to get into that team. So what do you think his qualities? Do you think West Brom's a fair shout for him to go on loan, or do you think that's not good enough for Choudhury?
I think maybe that's probably his level, to be honest. Don't get me wrong, yes, he has been playing in the Premier League and he has played in other European cups as well, but he will do because he's only played for Leicester. That's his only club he's been at, so maybe going down to that level, you'll see his class and maybe people will think he's a lot more high quality than he is, but again, with no game time, you can't really tell what level he is at. For me, I probably would put him down into the Championship to see how he does. Maybe he's a lot better than the Championship, you never know, but you've got to be putting him into that sort of level to see how he is, how he faces it. And like I say, with Barnes, people wouldn't think he was that good when he went down to there, but the moment he went to West Brom, he absolutely smashed it on fire.
I think the difference between these is Choudhury's been at Leicester for a while. He's been in the first team for a good part of 3 years now. He's not, Barnes has come in. He had an okay season this season and a good season last season, but he's come into the team from having a really good season at West Brom. So it's a bit like we've done it. It sounds like we're going to do the opposite with Choudhury, where he's had a few years in the first team. I think a lot of fans like him. He's a good player, but I don't think he's the quality we need to push ourselves further. I don't think he has that. At the moment, he doesn't have the game time to prove himself. He needs, like I say, solid game time. So he's definitely been chucked in the deep end a little bit. So I think, like you say, going to West Brom might be his level for now. He's definitely not going to want to sign a contract in the Championship. He's probably happy at, Leicester. He definitely wants to play. Any player's going to want to play, but I think that's the problem with what Leicester's model is. We'll sign these players on for a lot of money. Players like Soumare and that, who just happily sit on the bench, take the 80 to 90 grand a week. I mean, what's a Nacho on? He's probably on 70 odd grand a week, and he's happy just to sit on the bench. I mean, we've seen Danny Ward. He's he's happy to sit on the bench, and he's on what 50, 60 grand a week.
He gets his Wales debuts and all these games in Wales, and the moment he comes out of there, he's back into
So
the
maybe
bench.
this is part of Rodgers' rebuilding to get rid of all these players that are on too
Thing
much.
is, it might be a good idea for him to just move on, because again, he's not going to get the full game time really unless he really pushes that level up to being that world class player now we need. So maybe it is going to. Thing is, it was a Newcastle did come in for him, but now they're not going to go for him.
No, I think that ship sailed now for him.
So now really it's probably like maybe a Brighton, or because if that Basuma goes from Brighton, maybe that's their next replacement. Maybe
it's a risk thing. I think a lot of clubs will see it as a risk. It's like he's not played at Leicester. He'll be on a high pay package. He'll be wanting decent money. So I don't think he's going to want to go to any other club if the pay's not right, and why would he take a pay cut and go play in the Championship? That's a massive backward step for him. On loan it's different, but if he signed a full-time contract to West Brom, game time, if he wanted game time, then regardless of that, it's still a downgrade.
Yeah.
Anyway, to move on, Soumare, been with us for 12 months now, maybe less than, and Rodgers has already, kind of confirmed that he wants him out. What do you think to that?
I don't know if he wants him out. It's more, I don't think it's worked from people saying that, like I say with Daka. For me, it's harder to adapt as a striker than it is a midfielder for me.
Soumare just seems a bit lazy on the ball, and
don't get me wrong. I think there's some games that I've liked how he's played, but again, I think it's the way we're playing and the style we're playing it. He doesn't suit it because you're playing with one attacking mid in Maddison, you're playing one defensive mid in Ndidi. And then you've got your Tillemans, who's had to have started over your Tillemans.
You've got to think of all the background stuff as well when he's in the training ground. Clearly, no, it's not just game, because what we see him for 90 minutes a week, whereas Rodgers will see him for hours on end a week, because that's his job, to train him and to manage him. So when he doesn't like what he does in the training ground, because he's not been played. Mendy's been picked to be back in the squad, after he got dropped, he shouldn't have got dropped, but he's come back in and he's chosen Mendy over Soumare. I know Soumare's had some personal problems, and he's probably taken it a bit. We don't know the personal problems, so we can't say why he's not been playing. It could be that kind of reason, but it sounds like he might be another one that goes out on loan. But what's the kind of point in signing these players? For 15, 20 odd million, however much we signed him for, just to send him out on loan next season. You've got to think he was one to come in and maybe replace Ndidi when Ndidi goes, because I don't know, Ndidi's injured again, so I think we've got him for another season. But he's Barcelona, Real Madrid quality. He's he will be playing at a top tier club, and I'm surprised he's still been with us as long as he has. And I think the injuries this season is going to set him back a little bit. Maybe he's just happy at Leicester, who knows? But I think definitely that defensive midfield role is a key part into this team, and I don't think Soumare fits that role, and I don't think Rodgers thinks that either. So what do you think?
Well, like you say, it's different, because if you're getting rid of someone like Choudhury on loan and you're getting rid of Soumare, and you're losing that midfield depth in the squad, and it's hard because someone like Soumare, I think he's a good squad depth player for the Europa League or whatever, because we're not in that now. So now you're playing. You want to be more consistent with the midfield and the whole team in general going into all the Premier League games this season. That's the only really thing we've got to play for this season. So taking Soumare out, for me, I'd rather keep him. But again, he's not getting the game time, so why would you keep him? But then on the other side, Rodgers came in last season and said he wanted winners. Soumare won the league with Lille against the likes of PSG and all that for the first time in I don't know how many seasons. So again, he must have been a sort of good player in their leagues. Maybe that's why they're going back. That's why he might be going back into that league to try and get a bit more of game time.
It's a different league though. That's the problem with, I think, our model a bit is we'll go and sign these players like Soumare, who I don't know what we signed him for, because we've got depth, I think he was a squad depth player, but he's had the chances this season because we've seen Mendy not in the team and Ndidi out. Choudhury clearly not good enough. And like you say, he's not been playing that much. So clearly Rodgers doesn't rate him enough, and he thinks a season on loan is what he needs minimum, whether we just sell him upright. We've signed a lot of deadwood players this season, as you'd call it. We've got a lot of deadwood in the club still, like Pratt, he's off at Toronto still. I assume he's back in Leicester now after a loan, but...
Yeah. I think you'd even say maybe Perez and people like that. I wouldn't say deadwood, but the extra players that really could be going to put into more money to buy players that you really do need. Like I say, that right winger spot, we've not really replaced Madison. We've not really replaced Morris.
No.
We've not replaced him for like 7 years.
We have been trying like that kind of thing where we sign these players like Soumare, and we go on a risk. It's like he had one, I don't know how many good. He had definitely one good season when they won the league. So it's like he's a French, Ligue 1 winner. So why would you not sign him? You'd think he's one of those players that would be good, but there's something clearly gone wrong where whether it's these personal problems or Rodgers doesn't rate him, or why is he come in after a season he's already been told he can go out on loan. There's a lot of players like that this season, so I think it's harsh on Soumare to go out on loan if he's, whatever's happened with him's happened, but clearly Rodgers doesn't want him to be part of this team for next season, but wasn't Rodgers the one to sign him? So is this Rodgers doubting his own thing? This is when a lot of people say, do they trust Rodgers to do a summer rebuild when he brings in a player like Soumare, and after a year it's clearly not worked and he wants him out? It's a lot of money to spend on someone just to send him out, because it's 20 million plus wage packages, on him. So if we spend 20 million on wage packages on a player that's just going to not play and go out on loan next season, this season it's where we fell down that pecking order a little bit compared to last season. We had the injuries and they didn't come in. They didn't when they took the chances. They clearly weren't good enough, and when we needed Soumare to step up, he didn't last season. So, where do you think we can progress with this? With the amount of money we've got, we've still yet to make a signing. We're still yet to sell anyone compared to looking at all these other clubs like Aston Villa, who are probably the closest rivals we had last season. Obviously at the table ends, we finished 8th, which was a good finish compared to a few weeks before we finished where we were 14th, 15th place. So there's only a few points in it, but we really did step up and took the chances. So where do we make these signings, and where do these players want to go if they do go like Soumare?
Again, I say going back to the reason why he's not getting enough game time to begin with, it's like I've seen the likes of Spurs getting it on the end on Belly. He came in, he started well. He's a good player, but I think personal issues and all that comes into effect of it. So really, it don't really help the player generally on his game time as well. So really, him going back to Lille might help him going back to his old club, getting a bit more game time and trying to get a bit more confidence back in himself. But he's got to be at least some sort of level in class for him to win that sort of league. Yes, again, it's people say it's a farmers league. It's a different league, but
still have to play well.
Players have come in from other leagues before and done it. Kante's come in from the second French division, and he's come on in number.
I still think we are trying to do that kind of thing where we sign these players on a little less. Obviously, we're paying a little bit more than what we would have done for Kante and Perez, but we're still trying that business model of where we sign these players who are up and coming, and it works well. Sometimes it doesn't. We've seen it with Fofana. He's he'll be one that goes in a couple of seasons for 80 odd million, 80 to 100 million to a big club. So
that's where we've either hit or missed, because like I say, Fofana's done brilliant, Morris comes in, done brilliant, Madison, not Madison, who else is there? Kante came in, did brilliant. There's a lot of players.
Madison has come in and done well.
Like I say, he's done well from Norwich, and there's certain players that's come, and you've got Soumare who's come in from the Portuguese league. There's a lot of players recently that's come in from the Portuguese league and done brilliant. Other players, not at all.
So just a final verdict: would you keep or let them go on loan, both of them, for Choudhury and Soumare? What would you say is their outcome at Leicester, and is their time done?
Choudhury I'd keep, squad depth. Soumare I wouldn't. I'd let him go on loan, get a bit more game time, and hopefully come back as a bit different player, because I think Choudhury is that more of an impact player when he comes on off the bench or starts in defence when we've got injuries in the defence. He's played well when he's been put in, so you give him that chance, and Soumare really needs to get more game time and get more of a bit more confidence in himself.